Hey everyone, Joshua Kirk here with you once again, and now it's time for episode 154 of Album of the Day. And today, as you can tell from the shirt I'm wearing, I will be reviewing another Yeprock Records album release from this year. Shout out to Yeprock again for, it was so awesome to be able to get to meet David and the people at Yeprock and Red Eye. And it was definitely an honor. Anyway, today's artist is a San Francisco singer-songwriter and guitarist who started out in the cowpunk band Green on Red, but after that has pursued a very, good solo career, over the years that he's been around, I'm talking about the underground rocker known as Chuck Prophet. He's done his own solo work and also has been a session musician for several other artists, including Cake and people like that. This is pretty much how I first found out about him and has garnered some critical acclaim. And you may remember I did a review of Age of Miracles, his 2004 record, that was on New West Records, and I'm here to review his new album, which is on Yeprock Records, released, I believe, on February the 10th, 2017. And the album is called Bobby Fuller, Die for Your Sins. And as you can see, there's the cover photo of Chuck Prophet there, with really nice, brightness, California trees there. And the back here, apparently Mummy Head Music is like kind of his management team, because there's the logo for that, as well as Yeprock and Bell Sound and Alex the Great, which was actually one of the recording studios where some of the album was recorded. Apparently a studio for Brad Jones, who did handle production on the record. As well as Paul Q. Coldery and Matt Winiger, as well as Chuck Prophet himself. Then it looks like kind of, part of a hotel or something like that, like a motel or something. That's what it looks like, or a house. And there's the credits. And this thing is the lyrics, and as you can see, there's the back. And you get a better view of the credits in here. There's 13 songs on it, and it clocks in at over 47 minutes. And there's the CD. And speaking of Bobby Fuller, Die for Your Sins, since the people at Yeprock were so nice, in particular David Shaw, the guy I had met, who had been sending me stuff for a while, I have a button that has the album title's logo on there. Bobby Fuller Died for Your Sins. I did have another one of these, but apparently, the clipping thing, apparently, kind of broke off of there. But, I still do have this one. And it does have a sharp point on there, so, just, be careful when you're wearing this. But yeah, I was definitely lucky enough to get that. And that's the packaging for Bobby Fuller Died for Your Sins. Now, this record, seems to see, Chuck Prophet addressing a lot of things lyrically. Addressing the issues in today's kind of politics, sort of describing how kind of our country's kind of has been in kind of a civil war lately. But it also does address pretty much a lot of things, sort of, addressing his own life and, his childhood and, and stuff like that, pretty much. And, you know, and he's released over 5 studio albums with Yep Rock, including one that I really like, Temple Beautiful, which came out in 2012, where I thought it was cool to see him sort of address sort of his home of San Francisco on that record. So if you're from San Francisco and if you've heard that album probably has struck a chord with you, probably. Addressing sort of, all kinds of different, things that have happened in San Francisco and, whatnot, and bringing up topics like Willie Mays and, people like that. People like that. So I thought it was a cool concept record, and there was, and the title track was about an old punk rock club, that eventually did, get, torn down during like the earthquake, during an earthquake. Anyway, aside from that, let's, get on to the review. It opens with the title track, and, it's definitely a great song, and I can see why it made sense as kind of a single here. It's super catchy. Love the guitar hook, on that song, and, and the responding backing vocals, Bobby Fuller died for your sins. And this song is sort of kind of about, police brutality, maybe a topic sort of addressed here. I mean, Bobby Fuller died for your sins. This could be relating to, to the murder of a kid, maybe like, just because of like his heritage or his race, stuff like that. And, bringing up lyrics like, your daddy, he's so alone, and stuff like that. So it's like a catchy song, but its lyrics definitely are, pretty dark, pretty much. And I like how it kind of quiets down at one point, and, it's down at one point, really nice guitar hook, as well as really beautiful piano, and some kind of whisper backing vocals. Bobby Fuller died for your sins. Yeah, it's definitely a, great way to open the record, really showing off his songwriting abilities, but he definitely has the ability to crank out an amazing hook, too. The following track, Your Skin, is, a little more kind of sensual, I would say, lyrically and musically, I would say, but Chuck Prophet's always been known to do odd songs that are kind of like that, that have, that have kind of a, kind of a sexual twist to them, well, for example, the song You Did off of, Age of Miracles, easily one of the oddest things he's ever recorded. While this song may not be nearly as weird, it definitely still is a great track, love the kind of, sensual angle to the lyrics, as well as, the guitar work on the song. Chuck does provide some pretty expert guitar work on here, along with his second guitarist, James DePreto. Sort of the trade-off guitar solos towards the middle are just, incredible, and, that incredible rhythmic guitar and bass blending into one another. And also, Chuck Prophet with distinctive voice with the really gorgeous harmonies of Stephanie Finch. And another one of the singles here is Open Up Your Heart, which is, kind of like, more like kind of singer-songwriter kind of, angle, but, definitely a really beautiful song. It shows off his ability to create a really good sort of, folky pop ballad, pretty much, here. Pretty much, and sort of talking about how, there's some people that talk behind your back, but others that keep it hid. And, sort of, encouraging, this person, like this kind of, open up her heart and just kind of, trying to let it all out and stuff like that. Really smart message there with that song. And then the song Coming Up in Code, it's definitely, a more experimental moment here on the record with the really weird guitar sounds, the howling Vox organ, the Vox organ, and the howling Vox organ, and stuff like that, as well as the really cool, backup vocals as well, and the lyrics sort of see him sort of talking about his childhood. This could partly sort of be maybe about a friend that he lost, who was really close to him ever since he was a kid. So he brings up vividly, imagery of like dressing up as two astronauts every time they trick or treat, and also bring this image of this really beautiful girl with her hair tied in a bun and stuff like that, very poetic, and the kind of mysterious chorus with lines like, "Have you seen that candy man? Does anybody know?" And also he does throw in some pretty clever wordplay on the final verse, especially, he closes it off with, "They call me Willy Wonka, boys. Do you know what that means?" I mean, when's the last time you heard a reference to Willy Wonka in song? In song here, Chuck's a genius. And I also do love that instrumental part in the middle, with the kind of twangy guitars and a bit of swagger from the percussion. Feels like I'm listening to something like sort of in a rock and roll bar or something like that. He's definitely got a true love and appreciation for rock and roll, as you could tell by his music pretty much. I would say this album is maybe a little darker and more experimental than maybe his last couple of records, but still do really like it. And also I think it's going to be one of my summer soundtracks too, because it definitely sounds like a very fun summer album. So the fact that it was released in February, I think actually is, doesn't really make that much sense. I mean, maybe if it were about to be released now in May, it would be the perfect summer record. A lot like how Anderson .Paak's Malibu, I think, really makes sense as a summer record, even though it, kind of ironically came out in January of 2016. So yeah, I really do like this record. Anyway, back into sort of talking about it track by track. The song "Killing Machine" just fades into a really kick-ass guitar intro before eventually turning into kind of this dark and mysterious sort of track with really cool sort of with some really cool kind of unexpected guitar wombling sounds and stuff like that. The lyrics are, there aren't a whole lot of lyrics on this song, but, they still definitely, that's kind of the whole point of, how mysterious the song sounds, bringing up how the wife in this couple has a song in her heart and a baby to feed, but then eventually in the second verse talking about how the husband, walks into a store, comes out with a gun, and sort of bringing up that he was a killing machine, pretty much. And also I do like, the piano and, the kind of, and the kind of, low, bassy backup vocals I thought sounded really nice over, Chuck's lead vocal, and you get Stephanie Finch's really beautiful, vocal harmony there. And then after that is the lead single from the record, "Bad Year for Rock and Roll." And as the title says, it does mention why 2016 was such a terrible year for rock and roll. The death of Bowie and Prince, and all kinds of different musical legends and actors too, like Gene Wilder. But rather, this is a song focusing on like just the musical side on why 2016 was a bad year for rock and roll. This song is probably the most 80s sounding song on the entire record, and probably in Chuck Prophet's career, even, with, the kind of, with like the guitars. Like, it reminds me so much of like maybe like 80s David Bowie or something like that. So it kind of makes sense that the opening line in the song is, well, the Thin White Duke took a final little bow. Now there's one more star in the heavens now, making a beautiful poetic reference to Black Star, his final record, which, like most people, I did love that album. That album. And not hearing as much references about Prince here, but, I like how he's sort of giving a general idea of why, 2016 was such a bad year for rock and roll. And considering how intelligent of a songwriter and skilled of a songwriter Chuck is, it would make sense that he would come out with a song sort of saying, hey, I hate to say it, but it's been a bad year for rock and roll. And also, I do really like the chorus a lot, the shouted vocals, bad year, as well as really nice saxophone incorporated into the song as well. So, that's another kind of nod to Bowie there. But yeah, definitely a great song for sure. And I feel like the heart of this thing is really where a lot of this album's highlights, really do lie. Like the song Jesus Was a Social Drinker. One song that it's not, I don't think it's like literally referring to Jesus as all these things, a social drinker or someone who like doesn't have a laptop, has never partied at a strip club, or, has never overstayed his welcome. I think, he's using, like, some really clever wordplay in the song, even though, yeah, he definitely does throw in some really clever kind of, sort of religious undertones to the song that, I do really like as well. Like, with the chorus, with lyrics like, wash me in the water, mama, and I'll wash you the water too. And also all kinds of different cool instrumental elements to the song too, like the syncopated acoustic and electric guitar and fuzzed out bass, plenty, and also there's like really nice doo-wop vocals in the chorus, plenty of cowbell, as well as like and also I do like so it's like some of the best wordplays, like in the second and third verses, like, mentioning how Jesus wasn't Irish, but, if he was, he would, write poetry in verse and have a pint of Guinness every day. And also, like, bringing up how he wrote a best-selling novel, the more I learn about him, the more respect I have for the guy. And then it closes out with just a really awesome keyboard solo. There is a little solo towards the middle, but really, where the keyboard solo really does shine is towards the end. Making all these crazy sounds, and just sounds incredible as the song gets faster. And it really sounds like something maybe out of a sci-fi film from the 50s or something like that. Like, it has kind of a Star Wars-y, kind of spacey tone to it that I really like a lot. And then there's In the Mausoleum, and this song is definitely, this song truly kicks ass with just an incredible killer riff. That's kind of distorted and, sounds to me like the musical equivalent of a kerosene-induced fire, in my opinion. It just sounds incredible, definitely kind of bound to, it's like, it's a riff that lights your ears on fire, but in the best of ways, I think. And then also kind of the funky, syncopated bass and drums and guitar, I think sounds really nice on here. I think I heard a little touch of synth in the background as well. And, you know, the lyrics are few, but, you know, definitely do still have an impact, you know. Apparently it's credited in the liner notes as in the Mausoleum for Alan Vega. So it must be about a friend that he lost. And sort of talking, and sort of typically in the Mausoleum, it sounds like it could just be really dark lyrically, but, and it is still, but it definitely kind of, you know, sort of tries to find light in it by, like, bringing up lyrics about, you know, doing the monkey dance and stuff like that. Monkey dance and stuff like that. And, you know, saying, like, we're gonna break it down. Like, you know, get down. Like, you know, it's sort of, you know, giving, you know, like, mausoleums and stuff like that. Just a kind of cool, dancey twist, pretty much, in this track that I do love. Rider the Train, you know, is probably the most country-tinged song in the entire album, you know, and, you know, I do really like the song, the very catchy lyrics, and, you know, the touches of orchestral strings that sound like they're coming from a mellotron or something like that, and also some nice harmonica towards the end, even though the song, in my opinion, probably my least favorite, because I feel the track does sort of go by a little too fast and, you know, has an abrupt ending. And, you know, it would have been much improved if it were, like, longer, or pretty much. But this low isn't for too long, as the song If I Was Connie Britton definitely does come in with some very interesting point of view, like, you know, sort of talking about how if he was Connie Britton, he'd drive a long pink Cadillac and, you know, you'd know him by his walk. And if he ever got pulled over, all he'd have to do is talk to the cops, and, you know, the cops just can't resist how, you know, like beautiful, you know, he is and stuff like that. And also talking about wearing turquoise to the gym and, you know, refusing to read a tabloid and like, and also, like, you know, having so many clothes and, you know, living on Chinese herbs, and his skin would smell like berries, and berries, like, you know, it's kind of absurd, but definitely do really like that about this song. And also the kind of slinky slide guitar on the song, the, you know, howling mellotron choirs, as well as, you know, some really nice kind of chunky saxophone on the song too, key saxophone on the track too. The song Post-War Cinematic Dead Man Blues, wonderful title, by the way, probably one of the best album titles on the entire album. He comes in with some westerny lead guitars and some somber, dramatic piano, so it kind of actually makes sense with the title. And the lyrics, too, bringing up kind of, you know, just the horrors of having a bad dream, that someone you're really close to, like, whether it's your girlfriend or your mother, whatever, dies, pretty much. And then, like, all of a sudden you realize it was all just a really terrible dream you had. Like, sort of, you know, giving you the post-war cinematic Dead Man Blues, pretty much. Apparently, so the story is kind of like someone's, like, you know, someone, like, dreaming that, like, their girlfriend died and stuff like that, and talking to the major, and sort of, you know, never mentioned their name, but they knew who they were talking about, and then, like, in, you know, the second verse, he brings up, you know, vividly, like, being at, you know, this person's second funeral, when all of a sudden this person woke him up with a scream. Like, you know, it's definitely one of the sadder, more kind of, you know, sort of darker tracks, lyrically, pretty much, but, you know, I do love it, pretty much. The song We Got Up and Played, another track, We Got Up and Played, definitely another song that I definitely do look at as a highlight here. Kind of, I love how the song is probably the most sparse sounding track on the album, you know, in terms of, like, the recording. It sounds like it was recorded live, pretty much, live as opposed to the rest of the album, which it obviously does, use like overdubs and layering definitely very, extensively, dubs, extensively. But, it really does fit in with the song, only giving it that kind of authentic sort of loneliness of like, you're like on the road with a band and like the sound guy never shows and the doorman cracks a whip and like the bartender standing outside and like, it feels real lonely, but at the same time to try to make light of it, you plug in your guitars and just kind of start playing pretty much, and yeah, it's definitely a song where just you really feel that close to the songwriter pretty much, this is one of the only songs where I think you're going to hear about, like, being on the road and playing at a club, playing music in a club, being reflected in kind of a lonely, introspective way that, I feel the song definitely does do that. And I do really like kind of the bluesy tone of it with the guitars and the barroom piano and, the B3 organ as well. And then it closes out with the song Alex Nieto, and it doesn't get any more, visceral on the album than this song, in my opinion. Really, not only does the song really kick ass musically with the, with the rhythmic piano and, incredible guitar work, but also but this song also does, Chuck's vocals on the song. He really does kind of express over his frustration over just kind of the Civil War that we're in, sort of, in the modern age, pretty much, with, our country, pretty much, as he talks about, this story about a guy who, was a loyal son and had a job at the El Toro Club, and, he just, he, did something that was very good, for his peers and stuff like that, when just all of a sudden, he is, shot and killed by the cops, and also, so it kind of makes sense that, the main hook of the song is Alex Nieto was a pacifist, a 49ers fan, sort of talking about why he was killed, pretty much because of, his race and stuff like that. So I would say it kind of has maybe, the kind of dark tone that maybe, a rapper would maybe do in a song like this, even though he's not rapping or beatboxing or none of that, but, definitely, closes out the album with a bang, in my opinion. So yeah, really good album. Definitely was looking forward to it, and I'm so glad that my hype definitely paid off. I would admit that maybe, I do like some of his other records more, maybe No Other Love, Age of Miracles, and even Temple Beautiful. Full, but, I still do really like, this record, and, I do think Chuck Prophet still is relevant as one of the best, one of the greatest, American songwriters when it comes to, underground, sort of underdog rock and roll, pretty much. So yeah, I'm gonna go with a strong 8 on, Chuck Prophet's new album, Bobby Fuller Died for Your Sins. And I'll see you for episode 155.